Here's Colonel's list, though. Number 5, Exorcist: The Beginning, which this is probably why he's not here.
What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? No way.
Yeah.
He's
No
playing
wonder
with us. He's got to be playing with us. He did not look at.
He
a
knew that he
list
was
in
gonna.
2004.
He was gonna tsunami this whole fucking show with that right there. He knew it. He knew what he was doing.
Or maybe he hasn't seen that many from 2004.
Shit. Well, when that
Maybe
first time,
not.
that's his first thing he answers when he walks in here next time, man.
Colonel,
There's worse.
explain yourself. If you want to become a member, check out our website at deathcursesociety.com. Check out the membership section. You can do it for as little as the price of a cup of coffee once a month. Before we get to all that, we got to thank all of our members and the people that keep this show afloat for helping us out. Special thanks to our final girls and guys, Chris, Lorena, BD, Tyrone, our Crazy Ralphs, Dr. Smiley, Raymond, and the whole damn enchilada pod. I finally remembered, Rick, that you asked me to do that like 3 months ago. I was finally messing with graphics today and fixed it. I hope that works for you. If not, let me know what you wanted to say. And of course, thanks to our camp
man. Free advertisement that way. Well, he's paying
yeah.
for it, but I mean, hell, why not? I'm fine with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, thanks to our camp counselors, 42nd Street Pete, Corey, Luke, Michigan Dave, Jimmy and Rachel, Stacy Lynn, Orlando, Patricia, Kristen, and JJ.
Turn it up. Sounded like it sounds like somebody pissing on a shoebox or something on this end. I don't know.
Maybe that's what I'm doing, asshole. Don't call me out.
I don't know. I just saying it didn't sound right.
Well, then do the golf clap.
Okay. Yes, we love you guys.
Ziggy, you started us off last time around, so it looks like I get to take the a thunder stealing prick roll. All right. Starting off with number 5, ladies and gentlemen, from 2004. No one remembers that from like 8 years ago.
That's a classic cut.
Starting out with number 5, man. These were one I rewatched over the week, and I had seen these before. I've seen all these before, even the ones I rewatched this week, but I fiddled with my arrangement, I think, a little bit, slightly. But I had forgotten how much I really enjoyed this series, and this series actually had 2 entries come out in 2004, so they might both be on the list. But the first one, number 5, Ginger Snaps 2 Unleashed. Continuation of the first Ginger Snaps, of course. Kind of a weird story with one of the sisters not really being around too much. But I love the rehab facility that they're in and the situation that Emily Perkins' character is put in the middle of. If you haven't seen the series, there's only 3 of them, but they're fun. And the first one's great. The first one's a great werewolf movie, I think. So Ziggy is nodding his head condescendingly, but
no. I'm okay with werewolf movies, but they're not really my go-to when I'm looking for something. I know there's a few people like Colonel, like Seth. He's a big werewolf guy.
Oh yeah.
I could take him or leave him. Honestly, I love American Werewolf. I recognize almost perfection. I love The Howling just because that shit was fucked up when I was a kid.
Right. But American Werewolf in London is like probably one of the best horror movies of all time. Not just werewolf movies.
We were just blessed to come up in that era, and
Right.
that happened to come at that time. And it's a werewolf movie that's fucking amazing and scary and funny and everything. So
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm not huge on werewolf movies, but I really enjoyed this one because it portrays the teen characters well. I think it keeps the monster in the darkness most of the time until close to the end. The transformation is a little more subtle as it goes on. There's not like one 4-minute scene where the wolf just burst out of a person, but it kind of, you see the wolf kind of gradually taking form on one of the characters. I just think it's a really well done movie. I enjoy this series, and I'll be honest, I didn't get into this series until we started doing this show. I think Colonel actually brought this up at one point years ago when we were first talking. So, thank you, Colonel, I guess. Number 4 for me, I'm kind of number 4 for me. I'm kind of shocked that this is as low as it is on my list, but this top 5 is solid, man. I love all these movies, but number 4 for me is Shaun of the Dead. Probably one of the greatest horror. Yeah, number 4. I know. You're pissed off already.
I'm just curious what's going to be ahead of this.
What could possibly be better?
What's the deal with Airplane Peanuts?
What is the deal with Shaun of the Dead being number 4? No, I'll say this. Probably one of the greatest horror comedies of all time. Definitely top 5 of that. A fun movie. Great performances. It's strange. It is a little strange to me to know that the guy that directed this has evolved so much into what he's directed lately and what he is going to direct. But he still makes some of my favorite movies. Last Night in Soho was one from a couple years. Same director, Edgar Wright. And he's a cool director. So, but I believe this was his feature debut, and knocked it out of the park with this one, man. This was a great flick, and one of the few like popcorn flicks, I guess you could say, that is on my list. Most of the rest of them are fairly serious, or a little heavier in tone. Well, a lot heavier in tone because this is a horror comedy. But Shaun of the Dead, number 4. Number 3 for me, and I'm kind of shocked that this didn't show up on anything else that you guys sent me. But maybe I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't be, because it's Stephen King's Secret Window. This movie, when it came out, has such a great twist. I mean, you see it coming, but the way they film it, for one thing, is just fucking phenomenal. I love the way it's kind of Brian De Palma-esque, if you will. I love the way it goes through the mirror to the other side when it gets to that point. If you haven't seen it, sorry. But one of Johnny Depp's better performances. Some great supporting cast in this. There we go. Thank you. Nope. Some great supporting cast in this, and man, just a cool flick. Yeah. Like I was saying, I'm kind of shocked it didn't show up anywhere else. But
number 6 for me.
Yeah, whatever.
It would be on mine.
Number 2 for me, Dawn of the Dead. Yes, a fucking remake. A sequel and a remake made my list. And a parody. So, strange. Interesting. But, again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. This is probably one of the better remakes ever. It definitely took a huge turn from what George Romero was trying to do, but it still held on to some of his sensibilities, but giving it a much more amped up action feel. The casting is great. Uh, it's just a fun flick. So can't argue with that, can you, Ziggy?
I can't wait to see number one.
Oh, you know what number one is. Let's see here. Honorable mentions. Yes, the other sequel got in there too. Ginger Snaps Back. The third one, which was kind of a strange one because they go back in time and they portray different characters that have some kind of connection to their present day characters in the original film. But still, fun flick. I watched this one again recently. I actually watched all three of them. I hadn't seen them in a while, and just had a good time. Second honorable mention for me. I rewatched this one again, and no, it's not as good as the Japanese original, but it did start a trend in America that kind of opened the doors for J horror, and that's The Grudge. I think this is one of those kind of game-changing horror movies. No, it's not great, but it opened the door to something that we weren't getting at the time, and made J horror a much more popular thing. The fact that we even have a term for it now.
That's the Japanese one?
No, this is the American one. But because this one came out, we had a ton of other, The Ring and Grudge 2 and blah 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 blah. We had a bunch of J horror hit or American remakes of J horror hit here, which made people like us go, let's look at the originals.
And then say, why the fuck are they fucking up great movies?
They in most instances they are. This one's not bad. It's done by the same fucking director, so it's not that bad.
There's a whole lot of atmosphere missing that's in the original Japanese one.
There is, but it's still got some great visuals, some great moments. It's far inferior from the original, yes, but it's worthy of an honorable mention, I thought, compared to what else I had on, my reserves at least. And last honorable mention for me is going to be another Stephen King's Riding the Bullet, one of David Arquette's early films. I watched this again recently. I think I just have a sweet spot for this movie, and I'm not exactly sure why. But I enjoyed it.
Mick Garris directed this, didn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Barbara Hershey's in it.
I remember it was in like theaters for like a fucking weekend, and that was unheard of back then.
Right. It was, it's not a great movie, but I enjoyed this one a lot. So, and if you're playing by process of elimination, you probably already know what my number one is.
I got it.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. It's a movie that changed the game, man. The series is still going. It's Saw. That's one of the things I noticed when we were putting this list together. There was a lot of, I don't want to necessarily say groundbreaking, but very inventive, different things being done, even with remakes like Dawn of the Dead. Who would have thought to have just like amped the action up on George Romero's classic the way that Zack Snyder did? That's pretty good. Shaun of the Dead changed the way people looked at horror comedies, I think. And then Saw brought this whole new, well, maybe not new, but, more of an elevated look at, torture horror or torture porn. So, and of course, Saw has one of the greatest endings of all time. So, fuck. But there you go. There's my top 5 for 2004. let's see here. Bill's got his list. He was the first one to throw it up here. Bill says number 5, Hellboy. Number 4, Riding the Bullet. Number 3, Dawn of the Dead. Number 2, Shaun of the Dead. And number 1, Saw. With honorable mentions, Club Dread, Seed of Chucky, and The Grudge. There you go.
There's always one that likes the seed of Chucky.
All right, here's another list from Dr. Smiley, it looks like. I got to read this backwards, though. Number 5, Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. Number 4, Ginger Snaps 2. Number 3, Dawn of the Dead. Number 2, Shaun. And number 1, Saw. So fairly similar to at least the top 3 for Bill.
Saw getting a lot of love.
All right, we got Joshua's list here. Let's see. Number 5, Secret Window. Number 4, Ginger Snaps. Number 3, Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. Number 2, Dawn of the Dead. And number 1, Shaun of the Dead. No Saw, huh?
See, it's
Interesting.
for everybody. Not for everybody.
Christopher's got his. Number 5, Club Dread. Number 4, Shaun of the Dead. Number 3, Seed of Chucky. Number 2, Saw. And number 1, Dawn of the Dead. Yeah. Looks like Patricia's got a list here. Number 5, Malevolence, which, yep, there we go. Just mentioned. Number 4, Seed of Chucky. Number 3, Saw. No, number 2, Ginger Snaps 2. And number 1, Shaun of the Dead. Honorable mentions, Hellboy, The Grudge, Dark Harvest, and Dead and Breakfast. All right. Tarek says he's got his list. Number 5, Secret Window. Number 4, The Village. Interesting. That was pretty close to probably being on mine, but I felt like I needed to give that another rewatch, and because I haven't seen that in years. Number 3, Shaun of the Dead. Number 2, Dawn of the Dead. Honorable mentions, Hellboy and The Grudge, and number 1, Saw. There we go. Yep. Here's Colonel's list, though. Number 5, Exorcist: The Beginning, which this is probably why he's not here.
What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? No way.
Yeah.
He's
No wonder
playing with us. He's got to be playing with us. He did not look at.
He
a
knew that he
list
was
for
gonna.
2004.
He was gonna tsunami this whole fucking show with that right there. He knew it. He knew what he was doing.
Or maybe he hasn't seen that many from 2004.
Shit. Well, when that
Maybe
first time,
not.
that's his first thing he answers when he walks in here next time, man.
Colonel,
There's worse.
explain yourself.
Beginning?
There's worse.
There are worse in 2004, but not. I mean,
Not much.
Stepford Wives. The remake of the
One I
Stepford
wanna bring
Wives. The remake of the Stepford Wives was in 2004. And that's
Was it?
awful.
Oh man.
All right. Anyway, yeah. Exorcist: The Beginning, number 5 for the Colonel. Number 4, Hellboy. Number 3, Saw. 3 Saw? Wow. 2,
Okay.
Dawn of the Dead. Honorable mentions, Club Dread, Puppet Masters versus Demonic Toys, and Ginger Snaps Back. The prequel. Okay. And then number 1, Shaun of the Dead for Colonel.
I
All
believe it.
right. All right. Ziggy?
What? What did you say?
He gets that instead of.
That's not the drop I was looking for, but all right.
All right. Yeah. You guys probably aren't going to like my list too much, I think, now that I've seen the other ones and what everyone's been posting. But nevertheless, it's already in stone, so I'll live by it. Number 5. Huge fan of the Broken Lizard Troop, Club Dread, a comedy slasher. Fun. It's just fucking fun. The first of 2 comedy horrors I have on my list. And,
Let me ask you a question before you move on. I've never seen this. Would this make it on my list?
Yeah, because it's funny, dude.
Really?
These guys are. You've seen Beer Fest or you've seen Super Troopers?
It is funny.
It's funny, dude.
It'll easily make an honorable mention for you at least.
Honorable mention probably for Craig. I think that's fair. Maybe 5. Same place. You know?
I think I've seen parts of Super Troopers, but yeah, never seen the whole movie.
Bill Paxton's in Club Dread, man. He's like a Margaritaville.
Yeah.
That's kind of his thing. He's almost like the same type of star like that. He hangs out at this resort and just watch it. There's much worse shit out there than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I apologize in advance. Number 4, I just was never a huge fan of this series. I do appreciate it for what it did for taking a left turn for horror. It Saw. And I guess I'm not a. It's funny. I like the Cronenberg style stuff, but this was a little bit. I don't know, man. Again, I wasn't really going to movies at this time. I didn't see Saw until a couple years later, and they already had fucking 4 of them out, 3, 4 of them out by then. They were like every Halloween there was a new Saw.
Yeah, that first 5 or 6 years it was.
Yeah, man. Just boom, they were cranking them out, and I dig the first 3 a lot. Right when it starts to fall off, that's when they start putting all the branches out into different things and past characters, and it's like, okay, I've lost interest. Very much in the vein of Paranormal Activity. How I was like, Jesus Christ, I have a life to live. I can't keep track of all this shit. I don't have time. So so number 4, it did make the list. It made the main list, and on a different day, who knows? It could even be a click or 2 higher. I don't know. Number 3, this is the one I woke up middle of the night, Cinemax, and caught this from the beginning, subtitled. I hate subtitled movies at this time back then, and fuck, this thing disturbed the fuck out of me, man. The lighting, the whole atmosphere, this creepy, drony ass fucking soundtrack. It's Infection. They bring in this body into a hospital that's got this black funk on it, and then the dude just starts leaking shit all over the place, and it's almost like green shit leaks out of your eyes. It's like an Ebola that turns you into a killer. It's fucking disgusting, and but it's so disturbing. It's great. I loved it. This is like one of the first J horror movies I went like, geez, these guys, what the fuck is going on over there? They're fucking disturbed. Something's wrong here. And stuff like this is what led to the sadness of today and stuff. This was the beginning of it.
I can see that.
Yeah. Oh man, I just love this one. But yeah, number 3 on this list. Number 2, and I went back and forth with this. With number 1, it could have easily, and again, another day, it could be at the top of the list. But today, it's at number 2. It's Shaun of the Dead. It's great. It's not too long. It has good gore and horror. It tugs at your heartstrings with his mom's relationship and everything. It has everything, and it's just funny. I understand why people get a little annoyed with it, with the oblivious tone they kind of take, but that is the whole point of it. And it's got a silly ending, but this is a comedy, dude. It's a dark comedy, and that's what it's all about. Shaun of the Dead, one of the best 2004 had to offer. All right, honorable mentions. I went with Tobe Hooper, one of the, he did still making movies. Toolbox Murders is a remake. It's a little more slasher style this time around, but still kind of weak. Not as good as his other stuff. It's just not.
Is this based on the true story?
Right. They tried to.
Is it though?
They take liberties. They take all the liberties with it. So it's what I mean. They tried to sensationalize the fuck out of it. So that's why something was lost in translation from what they were trying to do. And then I think they had the name. So what I mean? No good. Honorable mention number 2, Hellboy.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, dude. Ron Perlman as Hellboy is one of my favorite, takes on the character. He's good. That remake they did is cool too, but I mean, Perlman had it down. He had the comic book Hellboy down to a fucking T. The fucking quips, the one-liners, just the crap. That whole thing. He was great. He was fucking great. Second one, not as good, but I wish they would have gave him the third one just to close the fucking trilogy out with it. It would have been so good. My third and last honorable mention, and boy, this could have been 5. Salem's Lot remake. I don't like it anywhere. You can't like it anywhere near the original. You can't. But I dig the way they approached it, man. It's pretty good. Go ahead.
I saw a comment when I was looking for the poster today.
Yeah.
For the graphic. I saw a comment on there that was just like, I hate to say it, but I like this one a lot better than the original. And then 5,000 replies underneath that, just like, are you fucking insane?
Yeah, man.
This movie does have the distinctive honor of being one of the few horror movies I fell asleep during. Like the first time around. But I made a point to circle back and go to it. Now, this was years ago when, I don't think it was 2004, but somewhere in there I saw it. And when it finally got released, I definitely gave it a hard look. So that's why, I mean, it's pretty solid if it wasn't Salem's Lot. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, So, and I'm surprised it didn't make Cranks list. This is as slow burn as it fucking gets. Man.
Well, the problem is I remember liking it back in the day,
right?
But I haven't seen it in almost 20 years. So,
okay.
And I looked for it, but I didn't want to buy it, and that was pretty much.
Isn't it like $29 or some shit too?
Yeah, I couldn't find it, for like even cheap rent or free anywhere. So I was just like, yeah, that one's probably not going to make my list. But yeah, because nothing about it, even from 20 years ago, stood out to me. So it was
it pales.
Yeah.
I mean, even when they go for those scenes, those key scenes,
to recreate them. Yeah,
it's just sad.
Right.
But that being said, it does have some good stuff. It's
still good enough for number 8.
It gets quite scary at points too. They do ramp it up in it. I mean, but boy, I think it could have been this could have been a fucking top choice of that year. If they would have done it just a little different. But that's it.
But this was probably also one of the last like Stephen King miniseries they did on TV, wasn't it?
I think this was the last one of the deal. That they banged out like the Stand and all that shit, and then
they did like 8 in a row every year. They did like one. They did the Stand, Rose Red, and I still love Rose Red. Langoliers was in there somewhere.
I just remember being so stoked that they were doing this again, and then kind of like, oh, geez,
Storm of the Century was in there somewhere.
But there it is. It's an honorable mention. Give it some love as we go to number 1 on my list. I was adamantly against this idea when I first heard it, and I was not going to go see it. I wasn't going to patron it and give money to it because I was that strongly against anybody fucking with my Dawn of the Dead. This was before Halloween got remade too, so you know what I'm saying? These are my 2 fucking babies, and they're going to go and try to remake this. Sci-Fi Channel did the brilliant thing, or they paired with Sci-Fi to show the first 10 minutes of this film. Yep. That 10 minutes of that movie. Mm-hmm. I was like, holy shit. I couldn't wait to go see it after that.
Because doesn't it end with the first zombie like running after the car, and that's where they cut off the 10 minutes or whatever?
They pan out and show her heading to the city and everything's in chaos and the car's crashing all over the place, and then it's like Dawn of the Dead in theaters Friday.
Yep.
Dawn of the Dead, yes. Zack Snyder took this. He convinced them to allow him to do what he wanted to do with it, because a lot of people were going like, don't do this. You're gonna ruin your career with this. He did not.
He didn't have a career before this, did he?
This is what put him on the fucking map. And running zombies, I understand, but again, this was his version. What I love to say about this movie, an awesome tribute to the source material. Best way to look at it. Because he made it his own, but it still has that Dawn in the mall, surviving kind of thing, which is funny. A little more humor, and there's a few more people around this time trying to rescue the gun salesman across the way, getting them some food and everything. It's just a great tale, man. And you just very, very tense. Very tense.
That was
good
cool.
war. Yeah.
That was a cool storyline, though, with the guy across the way.
Very cool. That would have been great to see something like that in the first one, too. Like someone else is pinned up and stuck, but they can't get to him. But again, this movie is great. This is easily the number 1. Maybe Shaun of the Dead, too. I've said that it could flip either day, but I'm very high on Dawn of the Dead as a remake. Probably the strongest remake of movies I love from the 80s is Dawn of the Dead, and I'll leave it at that, man.
And then 1 year later, with the fog.
Oh, did you just say it?
You had to bring it up, didn't you?
I had.
You're not supposed to say it. Crank, did he get the memo on movies that aren't to be named on this show?
I didn't get that memo.
I think he got this memo.
And then
I
I'll
got
give him
that
this
memo.
memo. I'll give him that memo for a minute.
Wait,
You
we said we weren't gonna.
No, he's in timeout for bringing up that movie. That's
All right,
it.
well, fine. All right.
We'll get him
Well,
back for the next segment.
This was for your list, but then shit went off the rail. Let's see. So yeah, all three of us had something different for the number one, but I don't know. We had Saw, Dawn, and Sean all
Sean
within the top four. So that's pretty similar. I think Colonel is fucking with us with The Exorcist. I really do. He has to be. He can't be
right
serious.
now, he's sitting on the bench watching us going,
Yeah.
Fuckers.
washing his dick.
All right.
Oh,
Gina
yeah.
says,
Right there.
hey guys, sorry so late, but my top five. Gotta go backwards here. 5, The Village. 4, Van Helsing. Yeah, I need to watch that again too. 3, Dawn of the Dead. 2, Shaun of the Dead, and 1, Starship Troopers. Huh. Okay. We'll allow it, I guess.
Starship
I'll take
Troopers.
it.
Was that 04?
1997, I think.
Dude, that seems a little.
Look that up. Maybe there was a sequel.
Oh, I bet there was a sequel.
So there's the 97, but maybe there is. Yeah, there's a 2004 Starship Troopers 2, Hero of the Federation. I am not familiar with that one.
All right. Honorable mentions were Parasite, Hellboy, and Dracula 3000. Woof. One last time, we got to give our shout outs, which I'm never ready for when I always remember them. But thanks to our members, our final girls and guys, Chris, Lorena, BD, and Tyrone, our Crazy Ralphs, Dr. Smiley, Raymond, and the whole damn enchilada pod, and our camp counselors, 42nd Street Pete, Corey, Luke, Michigan Dave, Jimmy and Rachel, Stacy Lynn, Orlando, Patricia, Kristen, and JJ. Thank you, guys.
My God, that
Well,
applause.
something
messed up,
happened.
brother. We're going to have to fix that.
I got it.